Tonight, a colossal mistake. That is what former President Obama is calling President Trump's gutting of USAID last day. And George W. Bush is echoing the criticism as well. This comes as the Washington Post reports that the cuts have already had a sudden, deadly impact on Sudan, the home to the world's largest humanitarian crisis. The Post is reporting that according to dozens of civilians, doctors and aid officials, babies have starved to death as soup kitchens supported by the U.S. were forced to close. Also, medical supplies are no longer even being delivered, and the absence of disease response teams has made it harder to contain outbreaks. The World Health Organization says 5 million people there could lose access to life-saving services due to those cuts, as millions are fleeing their homes. In a tribute video to the agency, President Bush pointed out that the 2.25 million lives that the program has saved from HIV and AIDS, and he said that the USAID program showed the greatest strength of America. Now, this is one of the saddest things I think that has happened, because Doge came in and literally, quite literally, Elon Musk said, "We spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper. Could have gone to some great parties, did that instead," as if this is, I don't know. I don't even know what he thinks it is.
He thinks it's a joke.
Maybe it's a joke, but this is actually real people, real lives, literal babies dying of starvation, of preventable diseases, of scorpion bites.
America's interests, I believe, are best served with a mix of hard power, which is military deterrence and economic coercion if it's necessary, and soft power,
correct,
which is diplomacy and development. In this case, development being dollars spent smartly. The Biden administration believed in dumb power, and they made some financially poor decisions. And unfortunately, this administration took the mismanagement of the previous administration and decided to just cut it all out, rather than say, okay, these were expenditures that we don't agree with.
Which ones did you not like from the Biden administration?
There's LGBTQ stuff and all this other stuff.
What does that have to do with USAID?
You don't have one in particular that jumps out to you.
7 million tourism in
Egypt. I literally just said that I don't believe that they should be shutting down USAID. There were expenditures that we should not have been making as American taxpayers. But the program, the agency itself, should not be shut down. We have a responsibility to the world and a responsibility to ourselves. Our national security is on the line. Programs like this, ensuring that children are not malnourished,
correct,
so they don't get radicalized and ultimately want to harm America.
Well, for those kids who are not here, it's too late. The second guessing it's done already.
But he brought home a good point. It's not just a hard power, soft power, because I agree with you on that. It's this fundamental humanity that is absent from Elon Musk and President Trump and cutting USAID to this point. And then one of the things that I think frustrates me more than anything is when you have individuals who at one point cut USAID and they champion it and they raise their hand and run around and jump up and down, and in the next quote they're quoting Bible scripture, and the hypocrisy of it is astounding to me. But even more importantly, I think that this is one of the largest foreign policy blunders that we've made as a country in a very long period of time. Because what happens when we leave, that soft power leaves these regions? We're talking about North Africa and Egypt, right? We're talking about Sudan. We're talking about these places. It doesn't just go away. What happens is our adversaries, China, Russia, Iran, they go in and fill these voids, right? They utilize that soft power. And so, yeah, particularly in Africa where we have withdrawn because of Elon Musk. China is in Africa right now developing soft power. You have terrorist organizations in Africa right now providing those resources, and then you're just going to say, oh, I just like the images of little black and brown babies that are starving to death.
I have a statement from the State Department. It says foreign assistance continues to arrive in Sudan, including humanitarian assistance. Given the massive needs, we call on other countries to step up and increase their contributions to the humanitarian response. We reiterate the need for parties to enable humanitarian assistance, ensure the safety of humanitarian workers, and protect civilians. But I just want to point out that what they're saying is that now aid is flowing, but that doesn't mean that it was always flowing. According to the Washington Post story, initially, one of the projects in Kwaz Nafisa was frozen by the stop work order. Then it was terminated on February 27th, and it was partially reactivated on March 3rd, but the disbursement of funds was delayed. 5 months later, the clinics finally began receiving the help it was promised at the beginning of the year. So 5 months, critical aid, medicine, not going to people. And it seems like the only reason is because maybe some people in the nascent Trump administration did not know what this money was for, and then when the backlash came, realized that they should reinstate it because people were dying.
No, I think this was an agency ripe for reform. I don't agree with Presidents Obama and Bush, who made these statements about USAID ending. This was an agency that their own AIG, Inspector General, in 2024, said that this was an agency funding terrorist-linked organizations. That was the Biden administration's Inspector General. Then in 2025, just a few months ago, we had a conviction, a criminal conviction.
But here's the thing. There are misuses, waste, fraud, and abuse, to use your term, all over the federal government. But you can't make that sound as if that was the whole of what USAID was doing. And then secondly, explain to me how eliminating USAID is reforming it.
But you let me finish.
But how is it reforming?
You had an agency, right, that was ripe for reform because of the reasons I mentioned, right? Then you had a political fallout of, again, people focus on the DEI stuff, and we've had this debate on this show, but there are things like I mentioned, like tourism in Egypt, right? I don't, and we could disagree on this, I don't see much need for America to be investing in tourism in Egypt.
Cut tourism in Egypt.
The fact remains that the U.S. is still the largest donor of foreign aid of any country by leaps and bounds. We are still going to be the largest donor of foreign aid by leaps and bounds.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a simple question.
Let me finish. Because you quoted Elon Musk just now like it was the wrong thing he did. But 5 minutes ago we were talking about Elon Musk about how right he was on the last bill.
You can actually be intellectually honest enough to say somebody's right on something and wrong on another.
I understand.
But let me ask you this question. You saw the images up there of the babies who were dying.
That's awful. I mean, don't get me wrong.
But 1 second. You just cut the agency that did it. So you have people that are starving. You have people that are in war-torn countries that can't get the necessary resources they need.
Children.
You have people dying from preventable illnesses. You have people literally dying from AIDS. People don't die from AIDS anymore. You have that happening right now, and you're going to look at the camera and look at those babies starving and say, we should have shut down the program. How do you justify that?
I justify it by, again, there have been problems with USAID for many years. This is an agency that wouldn't answer some questions in Congress when Samantha Powers was testifying throughout the Biden administration.
Oh my God.
But Joe, why not
So we should just keep an agency.
Okay, hold on.
I agree with you that a scalpel might have been better than a sledgehammer.
Okay, well
Okay,
then
well, then we agree. All
There
right.
we go. All right, let's go to commercial break.
If you think there are problems, nobody in America is saying there are no problems in how the federal government spends money. But if you believe that there are problems, it behooves you to find those problems, cut those things. But there's a policy decision that was made here to slash whole cloth, huge swaths of foreign aid, because that is part of the MAGA idea. But foreign aid is not just a line item. It is human beings. It is little babies. Okay, the anecdote that this Washington Post story starts with is a little boy who is a twin who died because there was no food. And this boy's mother carted him to all these different places to try to find one place that could help him get the nutrition that he needed and could not. And he is dead.
So I think what's incredibly just callous about this situation is that, I think we can agree that there's been bipartisan support. President Bush was a leading advocate for this kind of investment. And he saw the humanity of it. And, he was a person who actually quoted Bible scripture accurately about why we should care about the least amongst us. And what is, I don't think we should ignore what actually happened here, which is Elon Musk came in. He basically tried to destroy this agency. He did irreparable harm. And just like the visual image we should all have in our heads is the wealthiest man in the world laughing callously at destroying an agency that ultimately meant that children died. And now he's been scampered out of Washington, D.C., but there's precious little accountability for what's actually happened here. And that is what I think is a tragedy and makes people very cynical.
And to Pete's point, on the soft power of it all, the United States actually spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to earn that soft power, to be the dominant force, not just militarily, but also in terms of peace and prosperity around the world. And a lot of that was thrown away. I'm not sure yet. I guess we'll find out what the end result of it ended up being in terms of the money that was allegedly saved. But next for us, the Democratic candidate for New York City's mayor is doubling down on his socialist policies, saying billionaires shouldn't exist. We'll debate next.